every builder here has an ethos of decentralization. Simultaneously, I know at the heart of stablecoins is a yearning to get Web3 truly adopted and integrated into our everyday lives. So that is my first question for all of you. It's 2022. You know, the advent of smart contracts around 5, 6, 7 years. Like, right? How many years you want to pick? My question is, why have stablecoins not penetrated back into everyday commerce? Whoever wants to kick it off.
That's that's a very good point, Sam. I just think from a simplistic point of view, and ourselves included, I guess, I wonder if it's also just the temptation to be always sucked into the blockchain realm. And as I say, I'm speaking for the whole. Well, not that I can speak for the whole space, but I just mean from what I've seen. I wonder if there is always a temptation to kind of, keep within the blockchain space and to make sure that that works really well. And as I say, we've been guilty of it. And I wonder if we all need to, I don't know the answers, but I think just pushing, even if it's a tiny thing, like trying to find some vendors on the ground and in emerging countries that can hit the ground running with commerce payments. But then, you always have the flip side of that, right? So you can always make the transaction, but then somebody needs to kind of get fiat out the other end at the moment. So yeah, this is kind of where I feel the tricky bit is. It's sort of, it's okay to make a system that allows stablecoin as payments, but then what do you do beyond that? So that would be something I'd be interested to hear all your guys' point of view, right? Is we don't want to just be the kind of on and off ramp for people to go back into that same system, right? So I'd personally be curious to hear how we can all put our heads together and solve that, because we've had conversations with exchanges, for example, centralized exchanges, shall I say, and they are looking at just becoming on and off ramps ever since the whole FTX drama. So we should probably be careful not to become that same thing, right? Like we build these amazing systems and then we're just like the kind of on and off ramp. So anyway, it's more of a general topic, because that's probably something to be wary of, I imagine, for all of us.
So that being said, we'll start off with Dove and Sid on this one, specifically Dove. You can kick us off here. What is the role of regulation? It's a question there. And then what is the role of regulation tied to stablecoins? And where do you think we're headed? And what do we need to do as an industry, a collective group of builders trying to find that ethical line of compliance versus progress?
Yeah, it's a great, yeah. I mean, and just basically what I'd say is I agree with Sam there, but just to add on to that, it really is a tricky one. So just to give you one example, there's been this whole concept of, do you allow your own native token as collateral for your stable coin, right? And just a few months ago, that was seen as being completely okay, and then suddenly that became not okay. So, which I totally understand, but I guess I don't think the answer I'm going to give is going to be very definitive. But all I can say is that I think at the moment we're definitely in this weird cauldron of being definitely between regulation and progress, just like you said, Carter. But I think that we have a ways to go, basically, before we can just say, okay, we're breaking away as this, completely digital entity, and we just get to go and make our own rules. Unfortunately, that isn't the case right now. We all know that. I think especially you guys in the States, right? There's a lot more heavy regulation. You've got to be a lot more careful. But what I will say is that I think technological advances do tend to push the progress that we want to see. It has happened before. It continues to happen. And it's never an easy fix. So this isn't like a definitive answer, of course, because no one has it. But I think that the more I think, Dean, you said it earlier, that everyone in this panel now is actually searching for something that is legitimate, right? I don't think there's people on here that are trying to do something that is going to scam people. We are trying deeply, as we've all said, post UST, post everything that we've learned to grow and make something better. So I don't know. I honestly think the answer in pretty much both those questions is just to keep doing what we've doing. Like try and have honest people rise to the top. Try and have like honest practices in your designs rise to the top, and then to just keep on um, making sure that we are pushing the envelope, obviously in terms of tech, but what can we do? We have to toe the line, right? Like, for example, the kind of, and I know I call them regulations because I don't even know what to think about them. If you think about someone from outside of the US, it's hard to even know, truthfully, what the actual law is. Sid, you probably feel the same. A couple other guys on this chat. It's like, is this a global law? Like, do we? But at the end of the day, I think it's the responsible thing to do to look at I guess we can call it the sort of like general crypto law that we all look at and read and perceive, and then just keep on pushing forward and making sure that we can make inroads, because this isn't going to be a quick answer. So yeah, it's unfortunately, yeah, Carter, it's not something I can answer quickly, but what we are doing at Kujira is making sure that we stand by the current, laws, regulations, as I've just said, however you define those, because they're very, very loose and very confusing. But at the same time, I believe that if we keep on, like we're all doing in this panel, pushing for something that isn't a huge experiment, let me put it that way, and isn't something that, look, if we're all talking about over collateralization in some way or form, I think we're on a good wicket. So yeah, long story short, I think that if you think about it, we have made great progress. So, I mean, I think we all look at these huge doom events as being like, I think all of us here, we think, oh, we've gone back 10 years, but we haven't. We've gone back like 5 minutes. So I think doing what we're doing at the moment, pushing forward with responsible methodologies is the only thing we can do. And then continuing to just, balance this weird curve between some crazy regulation and what we think is right. And I personally believe that if we keep on pushing in this direction that we all are, I think we'll get somewhere. We won't get all the way, right? We know, like, we're intrinsically against, like, sort of, I guess, the ultimate government policies, but we'll get somewhere. It's kind of like inch by inch. It's not going to happen overnight. So I personally believe that what we're all doing here is going to result in multiple forward steps, but yeah, just not like not a win overnight. But yeah, I know that's a bit sort of round the houses, but that's all I mean. We just keep going as we are. Let's not get sucked into scams, and let's try to do right by people. And then I think we talked about someone mentioned a consortium. I think stuff like that is a good idea. Approaching, I think it was you, Stefan, approaching various vendors, various people that can help us actually get this stuff over the line, get decentralized commerce over the line, get our stable coins over the line in a real world way, even if it's in a small way. Let the powers that be see that we can actually do something real, that we're not just playing in this sort of like what they feel is some like, scammy crypto bubble. We know it's not that, but we got to think about how they look at it. So yeah, a lot of work and backwards and forwards, but we are all taking the steps forward. I believe that.
Yeah. Before I love the answer. Before we hand it off to Sid for his answer, I think what's super interesting is you said it's five. We only went 5 minutes backwards, and
Yeah.
that's such a purist, optimistic builder mindset, and I love that because we need to maintain that enthusiasm about the technology. I will say this: trust took a massive hit for our industry from what happened. That's like an undeniable, real effect that we've all felt. So I just want to jump in there because I love the optimism. We have to have that.